What would you do if the love of your life gave you an ultimatum, your dream career, or him? In today's story, a massive promotion forces our protagonist to see the terrifying truth hidden behind her relationship. My name is Chloe, I'm 25, and I just got offered the kind of promotion people spend a decade chasing. For the last 3 years, I've been climbing the ladder at my company, earning a promotion every single year since I started. I went from being a coordinator for a single business unit to a global coordinator. It was a monumental jump in both responsibility and salary, a role I honestly never imagined I'd reach so soon in my career. Financially and professionally, it was a life-changing opportunity. The only catch? A little bit of travel. My company is actually trying to cut down on travel expenses, so it wouldn't be constant. We have 4 major business units scattered across the globe: Europe, Asia, South America, and the job would require me to visit each one, probably for about a week, once a year. In total, we're talking about 4 weeks of travel spread throughout the entire year. It's the kind of job my teenage self would have seen as the absolute pinnacle of success, doing work I love, getting recognized for it, making great money, and even getting to see the world. But my boyfriend, Mark, who is 32, was not okay with it. He didn't give me a direct ultimatum, not at first, but when I brought it up again, hoping to discuss it after he'd already shut it down, his tone shifted. He told me that if I kept pushing for something he was so clearly uncomfortable with, then I must know what I truly wanted. He said if that was the case, I should just pack my bags and leave. Hearing those words from him felt like a physical blow. Mark framed his objection as a desire for a stable, family-focused life, a seemingly reasonable concern, but I was about to discover this wasn't about travel at all. It was about control. I tried to understand his perspective. He's older, at a stage where he wants to settle down, and he's been upfront about wanting a family-focused partner since we got together, but I had also been clear that I didn't want to think about kids until I was at least 30. The confusing part was that being with him had made me start to care more about those domestic values, too. Yet, at the same time, I've always dreamed of having a successful career. I have worked my absolute tail off for this. I felt trapped, torn between the man I loved and the future I had fought so hard to build for myself. I didn't want to say no to this incredible opportunity and spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? I decided to try and find a middle ground. I sat down with him and explained again that it was only 4 weeks a year. I even told him that I'd already spoken to my manager to get it in writing that my travel would not exceed 10% of my working time. But it wasn't enough. Suddenly, the issue wasn't just the travel anymore. Now, Mark didn't like that I might have to occasionally adjust my work schedule to align with other time zones. I explained it would still be an 8-hour day, just maybe starting and ending at a different time once a week, but he wasn't having it. Then came the jealousy. He said he was worried about the people I might meet on these trips, especially other men. He hated the idea of me going to dinners with clients. He hated the thought of me sleeping in a hotel room alone, and he made it clear that if he did come with me, he would not accept me going to a work dinner while he waited in the hotel room. One commenter online later pointed out the obvious, something I couldn't see at the time: a supportive partner should be proud of your advancement, not threatened by it. This revealed Mark's greatest fatal flaw, his pathological insecurity. He couldn't build himself up, so he resorted to tearing me down to his level, brick by brick. The floodgates of his control were now wide open. He started getting annoyed if I didn't reply to his texts immediately, demanding to know why it took me 30 minutes to answer. He started demanding I call him on every single break I take at work, complaining that I was talking to my coworkers instead of him. He wanted me to send him my work calendar every single day so he knew exactly when I was in meetings. If I had any work-related conversation with a man, a coworker, a supplier, a trainer, and didn't report it to him, he'd get upset and accuse me of hiding things. His boundaries for my professional life became suffocating. No becoming friends with male coworkers, no casual or funny tones in emails, no emojis, no after-work socializing. No sharing my personal number with a male colleague unless he personally approved it. I had already accepted these rules without a fight, mostly because I don't socialize much at work anyway. A few weeks ago, the situation escalated. I had to attend a 3-day training in another city. Because he didn't want me sleeping in a hotel, he made me commute 4 hours each way, every single day. On the last day, a participant suggested creating a professional group chat to stay in touch. Exhausted, I forgot to mention it to him that night. When I told him the next day, he flew into a rage and forced me to get out of bed at 1 a.m. to show him the chat on my phone. His jealousy was entirely focused on my professional life, all because before I met him, I had a good friend who was a male coworker. When Mark and I got together, he made me cut all contact and block that person. Even though I had never once given him a reason to doubt me, I felt myself starting to break. Sometimes I would fantasize about quitting my career, getting a basic job at a supermarket, just so he would finally stop trying to control me. But then I'd remember how much I love what I do, how lucky I am to have found a career I'm passionate about, and the thought of giving it up felt like a betrayal of myself. Feeling completely overwhelmed, I wrote out my story and posted it online, asking strangers if I was wrong for wanting both love and my ambition. I never expected the response I got. 10,000 people commented, and as I read their objective perspectives, the fog of gaslighting I'd been living in began to clear. Looking back, the signs were there from the very beginning. In the first few months, I noticed he was possessive, but after a previous relationship with someone cold and distant, I mistook it for being sweet and caring. Within 6 months of us dating, he had pushed me to block every single male friend I had. After we moved in together, he began micromanaging my entire life. When he was at work, a 13-hour shift without his phone, he expected me to document my entire day in our Instagram chat. When I left the house, what store I went to, my appointments, when I got home. It was a complete timeline he could review later. He wedged himself between me and my family, suggesting I only visit them when he was working so I wouldn't waste our time together. He started controlling my appearance. He told me I'd lost too much weight, then that I'd gained weight. He pressured me for months after a surgery to get back in shape so we could be a gym couple. He inspected my outfits before I left the house, claiming my modest clothes were too transparent if the light hit them a certain way. He'd get angry that I dressed professionally for work but changed into comfortable clothes at home. He read my emails, checked my work messages, and went through both my personal and work phones, always fixated on my conversations with men. My entire day, my entire life, felt like it belonged to him. I had left him twice before, packing my things and going back to my parents' house, only to return both times. But the most undeniable sign was my health. Before Mark, I was almost never sick. Since moving in with him, I have suffered from irritable bowel syndrome, acne, hair loss, warts, a recurring abscess that required 3 surgeries, ear infections, gluten intolerance, gingivitis, 2 rounds of candidiasis, ovarian cyst infections, and weekly migraines. My body had been screaming the truth for months, a truth my manipulated mind couldn't yet accept. It was a desperate, primal cry for survival. I know it's hard to understand how I didn't see it. I genuinely believed I was exaggerating, that this was just what relationships were like. I thought if I just compromised more, he would see how much he was hurting me and change. I never imagined someone could manipulate you so deeply while also screaming at you, punching walls, and even throwing water on you. His abuse made me feel like I deserved it. I started lying out of fear, sneaking to the gym, vaping when he had forbidden it, making up car payments to explain where my money was going. And those lies just fed my guilt, making me believe I was the problem. But no matter how manipulated you are, when 10,000 strangers tell you to wake up, you do. Their comments were like a collective slap in the face, each one opening my eyes a little wider. Now, I see everything with horrifying clarity. I'm scheduled to see my therapist tomorrow, the same one we saw for couples therapy, so she knows the dynamic intimately. We are going to work on a safe exit plan. I'm terrified, but I know this has to end. I want to break this cycle and get better, and maybe someday, I'll deserve someone better, because I now know I didn't deserve this. The ultimate lesson here is that you should never have to shrink yourself or sacrifice your dreams to fit into someone else's life. True partnership builds you up. It doesn't tear you down piece by piece until there's nothing left. So, let me ask you, have you ever had to choose between a relationship and a major life opportunity? And how did you know you were making the right choice?